Haftara for this Shabbat is the sixth of the seven haftarot of comfort of Nechama, Shiva de Nechemta, all taken from the Navi Yeshayahu, and part of the lesson of these haftarahs is how do we see ourselves in the words of the Navi? Because many of the prophecies, if we wish to say so, have come to pass in our time. And so it's a question of outlook, of what our prejudgment was. So I was mentioned that when you go by this little park that they've expanded now, on the way to the post office of blessed memory, there's a park there that children play. And invariably in the park, there are grandparents that are sitting on the bench and watching the grandchildren. They're like the babysitters because the parents are at work. So there's a pasuk in the Navi Yeshayahu that he says, Od yeshvu skeinim uskeinos bechutzos Yerushalayim. In Zcharia. It's in the Navi Zcharia. It's not part of the Shiva de Nechemta, but it's an example that Skeinos, grandparents, older people will sit on the benches in Yerushalayim and they'll see their children, their grandchildren at play. So you can see that prophecy is fulfilled in literally. You don't need a rabbi to give you a drosha on it. But that's if you want to see it. If you don't want to see it, so then the kids are making noise, and this is not what we expected, and et cetera, et cetera. So in this week's haftarah, there are a number of psukim that I would like to bring to your attention. The haftarahs of the Shiva de Nechemta, Rabbi Goldberg spoke about it very well on a previous Friday night. It's a dialogue between Kaviyachol, the Rabboni Shalom, the Jewish people. God says, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. The Jewish people reply that you can't buy us off with words. After everything that you did to us, you can't just say, Nachamu, Nachamu. So who's going to comfort us? So then the Rabboni Shalom says, Anochi, Anochi, Menachem. I will comfort you. So the Jewish people say, no, right? Ani yosoar alonu choma. What do you mean, Nechoma? After everything that's happened to us, you expect that we should be happy with this? I remember I heard that from many people, unfortunately, who I think don't see the picture. So they say, we waited 2,000 years for this traffic jam, for this type of political leadership, for whatever you want to say. So we refuse to accept Nechama. But the Rabboni Shalom persists that he's going to bring us Nechama. Roni Yakora v'lo Yoloda Pitzchi v'ranani. It's going to be good. You're also going to be happy. So in this week's haftarah, so the Navi says, Kumi Ori Kivo Oreich. Ori means light up, shine. We have ponim meiros. So in Yiddish they say talichtike ponim. There's a face that's alive, that's light, that's happy. So the Rebbeinu Shalom tells us we should be happy. Kumiori kivo orech. Ukvod Hashem alayich yizroch. Because the honor of God, so to speak, the great things that are happening are all because of you, alayich yizroch. So the Medrash says, but the sun doesn't only shine on us. But the answer is that we're the catalyst for the sun to shine on everybody. It says, by Yaakov Avinu, vayizrach lo hashemesh. So there are all sorts of midrashim there. Rashi quotes there. The sun set early for him, so now it stayed longer for him. The sun came to heal him. But one of the pshatim is, vayizrach lo hashemesh, the sun shone because of Yaakov. Because there's a Yaakov in the world, so the sun shines. So that's the idea here, to quote Hashem alayich yizrach. So there's a posuk here that says that mi'elech ha'ovtu feno v'chayonim el arubosehem. That the Jewish people ask, the question here is, the metaphor of the Navi is that we have a woman who has been bereft of her children, and all of a sudden everybody came, children, grandchildren, all of a sudden everybody came. So she says, Mi'ele, who are these? I gave up a long time ago on this. I never expected to see them. So my father told me, he said that he heard it from Rav Kook. There are two madrigas, he said, to the Jews who come back to Eretz Yisrael. There is Ka'ov to Feno. Ka'ov to Feno means like a driven cloud. The clouds are driven by the winds. They don't move on their own. So there are Jews that come back because the winds have driven them back. It's not so nice to live in France or in Russia or in other places, so they come. The wind has blown them. Certainly the great immigration of the Sephardim that came in the 50s was because they were driven out of the Arab countries. And the same thing, the refugees were, nobody in Europe wanted to take them. So that's Ko'ov to Fena. They are like a cloud that flies, that drives, that is driven by the wind. But there are those kayonim el arubusayim, like doves that come back to the dovecote, that come back to their nests. So we have a concept that we know, homing pigeons. You can, whether or not they have to be trained or not, I'm not an expert on. But there's no question that it's a bird that can be trained to come back. And that we saw from the story of Noah, that it came back. And that's how Noah knew that the waters of the flood had receded. So there are those that come back in the Geula, Kayonim el Arubusayim, voluntarily. We want it to come back. We know this is our home. We're not necessarily driven here by winds. There's not necessarily any pressure here. But rather it's a homing instinct. As I remember that I heard from great rabbis who came to Eretz Yisrael, and settled here. So they all said the same thing, that we had the feeling that we were here before. And I think many people have that feeling. You come to Israel, it's not strange to you. When you go to Moscow, it's strange. But the first time you come to Israel, you're coming home. So that's kayonim el arubaseya. Like doves, like pigeons, that return to their dovecotes, to where their nests are. So that is the description that the Novi gives. So the Novi says there'll be both kinds of Jews. There'll be both kinds of returns. And he doesn't make any judgments. He doesn't say anything good or bad, God forbid. He just says the reality. And we say that Mekabetz Nidchei Amo Yisrael. God gathers. So he picks up Jews by the scruff of their neck and brings them. Many times they never expected to come. Certainly true of the Russian Aliyah and of others. That there is this process of the redemption which is unfolding, and it has these facets to it. Now there's a posuk at the end of the haftara, a famous posuk. All of them are famous, except that some are more famous. The Navi says, "Hakoton yel elef, va'atzoyir legoy otzum, ani Hashem b'ito achishenu." So hakoton yel elef, the smallest person, most insignificant person, will be like 1,000. Will be exalted as though he were 1,000 people. The youngest one, who has not yet made an impression in life, will be the great nation. Ani Hashem, the Lord guarantee it. B'ito achishenu. So the Gemara darshans b'ito achishenu, that if the Jewish people are zoche, then achishenu, then the Geula can come quicker, easier, faster. But in any event, even if we are not worthy of anything, b'ito, when the time comes, it'll happen. And that can explain many things why greater generations never came to see what our times have seen. It's not because we're such a great generation. In fact, we can make a case just the opposite. But it's B'ito. And that has weight. But there's a famous pshat here from the Abarbanel, the Yitzchok Abarbanel. Now, the Abarbanel was from the exiles of Spain. He was offered by the king and queen that he could stay in Spain, he and his family. The Abarbanel was a financial advisor to the king. He was a person of great importance. So he was offered that he could stay. But he says, whatever happens to my people happens to me, and he went into exile with them. He went to Naples in Italy. He was an advisor to the king of Naples. And then he went to Tuscany. He was an advisor to the Papal States. And then he writes in his introduction to Sefer Shoftim, he writes his biography, his autobiography.